Hey guys, my name is Syed Sufiyan. In this video, we will talk about the creepy murder in room 1046. This case is very mind-boggling and very creepy. So let's get into the story. On Wednesday, January 2nd, 1935, around 1:20 p.m., a man calling himself Ronald T. Owen checked into the hotel President in Kansas City in room 1046. Witnesses say he was aged anywhere from 20 to 35, with brown hair, a scar on his scalp visible above his ear, and a cauliflower ear. He was nicely dressed in a black coat. The bellboy, Randolph Probst, helped Owen to his room, where he reported that Owen seemed to have only packed a brush, comb, and toothpaste. The maid, Mary Soptic, said Owen allowed her to clean while he was in the room, but asked that she not lock the door on her way out because his friend was about to visit the room very soon. Soptic said that Owen kept the shades tightly drawn and the lights off with the exception of one dim lamp. Other staff members who entered the room also mentioned this detail. According to maid Soptic's statement to the police, she felt that Owen was, quote, either worried about something or afraid, and that he always wanted to kind of keep in the dark. At 4 p.m., Soptic returned with new towels, finding Owen laying on the bed, completely dressed in the dark with the door unlocked. She also saw a note that read, "Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait." The next day, on January 3rd, Sophie came back to clean the room at 10:30 a.m. She noticed that the door had been locked from the outside and assumed that Owen locked it as he was leaving the room. However, Owen was sitting inside, again with the lights off, which meant that someone else had locked the door from outside the room. While Soptic was still in the room, Owen answered a phone call and said, Soptic came back around 4 p.m. to deliver fresh towels. She heard two male voices from inside the room. When she knocked, she heard a rough voice say, "Who is it?" When she explained that she had fresh towels, the man said, "We don't need any," even though there were no towels left in the room. During the night, a woman staying in room 1048 would report hearing loud voices, both male and female, cursing on the same floor. Though there was apparently a party going on that night in room 1055. Now, things begin to get very strange. The next morning, on January 4th, around 7 a.m., the hotel phone operator noticed that Owen's hotel room phone had been off the hook for a while without being in use. So, she sent the bellboy Probst upstairs to 1046. Despite the locked door having a "Don't Disturb" sign, Probst knocked a few times and heard a low voice say, "Come in, turn on the lights." However, the door was locked and no one was getting up to let him in. So after knocking repeatedly, Probst said, "Put the phone back on the hook," assuming that Owen was drunk. Around 8:30 a.m., about an hour and a half later, the phone was still off the hook and another bellboy, Harold Pike, let himself into the room with the pass key using only the light from the hall. The bellboy Pike observed that Owen was in bed, naked and seemingly drunk. He also noticed that the bedding was darkened around Owen. The phone stand was kicked over, so he fixed it and put the phone back in the receiver. At approximately 10:30 to 10:45 a.m., the phone was once again out of the receiver. They sent the original bellboy Probst to resolve the situation. When he opened the door, he stumbled upon a truly horrific scene. Here's a statement to the police. Owen was discovered with extensive injuries. He had been tied up with the cord around his neck, wrists and ankles. It appeared he had been tortured. Blood had even gotten on the wall and ceiling above the bed. He had been hit repeatedly on the head and his skull was fractured. He'd also been stabbed in the chest several times. His lung was punctured. There was bruising around his neck that could mean he was strangled. Remarkably, Owen was somehow still alive though. One of the detectives to arrive on the scene would ask Owen about anyone else who had been inside the room. Owen responded, nobody. Although he was hardly capable of talking and not fully conscious, he explained, I fell away the bathtub. One hell of a fall. After this brief exchange, he was completely unconscious and was taken to the hospital. According to a doctor, the injuries on Owen's body had occurred 6 to 7 hours prior to Owen being discovered. Detectives found no weapon nor any of Owen's belongings in the room, therefore removing suicide from the equation. 4 fingerprints were found on the phone stand, potentially from a female. Owen would die after midnight on January 5th at the hospital. When Owen initially checked into the hotel, he mentioned he was from Los Angeles, but Los Angeles authorities were unable to find any record of a Roland T. Owen, bringing into question whether that was the victim's real name. His body was placed for viewing at Melody McGilly Funeral Home. As the story spread, more and more people began reaching out to Kansas City authorities to see if their missing loved one could be Owen, to no avail. Next, police focused on the mysterious Don that Owen referred to several times while at the hotel. Don was also conceivably the man with the deep voice that the maid heard through the hotel door. Nevertheless, the police's search returned no results. Owen's upcoming burial was announced by the Journal Post on March 3rd to be in a potter's field. However, the Melody McGilly Funeral Home received a call from an anonymous individual who said they would send the money necessary for providing Owen with a proper funeral. Sure enough, on March 23rd, money, bundled in a newspaper, was delivered to the funeral home from an anonymous sender. Funeral flowers were anonymously arranged with the Rock Flower Company, along with a card that said, Love Forever, Louise, placed on Owen's grave. Skipping forward about a year and a half later, in 1936, a friend of Ruby Ogletree found an American weekly piece chronicling the Owen case. Upon looking at the magazine, Ruby would correctly identify Owen as her son, who left Birmingham in 1934. Owen's actual name was Artemis Ogletree, and he was only 17 years old. Ruby Ogletree, his mother, had actually received 3 letters from her son in the spring of 1935. However, these letters were delivered after Owen's death and were typed, according to a sensational newspaper account of the murder case. This was especially suspicious because Artemis didn't know how to type. This article also reported that the letter's tone was slangy and unfamiliar to Ruby Ogletree. After some time, it was revealed that Artemis Ogletree had also stayed at the St. Regis in Kansas City with another man, possibly Don. In the early 2000s, Dr. John Horner, the author of an exhaustive account of the murder case published by the Kansas City Public Library, received an out-of-state call about Artemis Ogletree. The caller claimed to find a box containing newspaper articles about the Ogletree murder in a deceased elderly person's belongings. According to the caller, there was something else in the box. Something else that had apparently been referenced in the newspaper articles. Unfortunately, the caller did not say what that item was. After that, the case would have no further revelations and would disappear into obscurity. So let's talk about the theories. Theory 1. The man referred to as Don beat Artemis Ogletree to death in room 1046 and acted alone. As mentioned before, it came to light that shortly before his death, Ogletree had stayed in a different Kansas City hotel with another man, possibly Don. Don was also conceivably the man with the deep voice that the maid heard through the hotel door. But even if this theory is true, the police were never able to figure out who Don actually was. Theory 2. dawn, did it act alone? This theory relates to an observation by Charles Blocker, the elevator operator the night of the murder. His observation also perhaps sheds a little light onto who Dawn could be. The night of the murder, Blocker saw a commercial woman going to the 10th floor. Commercial woman yani a woman who is dressed well. Blocker claimed this woman was looking for room 1026 to meet a man she was unable to find. It's possible that this woman was looking for Ogletree and had mistaken room 1046 for 1026. This commercial woman was also seen with a man from the 9th floor, a man that the elevator operator said was the same height and weight as the woman. Some speculate that this man could have been Dawn. If you recall, there were fingerprints potentially from a female found in the phone stand, and a woman staying next door in room 1048 reported hearing loud female and male voices cursing. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to suspect that this commercial woman and the man from the 9th floor could have been responsible for what happened to Artemis Ogletree. However, there was nothing official on the woman or the man beyond what little was on the internet. Theory 3. The third theory comes from many sensational articles published in the following years that suggested Ogletree was killed for being unfaithful to his fiancée. The announcement in the Journal Post that Ogletree would be buried in a potter's field, the announcement that appeared to prompt an anonymous scholar to fund Ogletree's funeral. According to a sensational article published in the Newcastle Sun called Mystery Murder in Room 1046, that sequence of events went a little differently. The article states that a woman called the local paper to say, quote, "Pauper's grave, Pauper's grave." When asked to identify herself and what actually happened to the man, still known as Owen at the time, she replied, "Never mind, I know what I'm talking about. He got into a jam." Before hanging up the phone, at the same time, a man called the funeral parlor where Owen was held and said, the man apparently explained that Owen had jilted a girl he was engaged to, and that in room 1046, Owen, the man, and the jilted girl had a little meeting. Before hanging up, he said, "Cheaters usually get what's coming to them." Shortly after, the Rock Floral Company received a call asking for 13 American Beauty roses sent to Roland Owen's funeral. The wife said, "I'm doing this for my sister." ये लोग ना ये कार्टूनिश कैरेक्टर जैसे लोग कॉल करके पकाते हैं फ्यूजन होम को कि ये करो वो करो ये मैसेज वो मैसेज मुझे पक्का लगता है ना कि ये फ्यूजन कंपनी वाले लोग ना 2-4 गालियां बक दी होंगी उन लोगों के लिए। आप लोग ये बोलते हैं कि मैं ये मेरी बहन के लिए कर रहा हूँ क्या एहसान कर रहा क्या भाई तू तुम लोग ना एक काम करो, तुम ही आके उसको दफना दो और जितने चाहे लेटर, लव लेटर, ये लेटर, वो लेटर उसके कपड़े में डाल देना, और हमको इससे कोई मतलब नहीं, हमको सिर्फ हमारा पैसा चाहिए। No possible leads or clues. Case files left at the shelf. Was he a prisoner or was he punished for cheating on his fiancée? Case unsolved.